should I really probably just leave
for the
you to do that?
for the purposes of our audience is going to hear your voice pretty well already, and my voice pretty well because I'm like holding the Twitter I have a great situation here. I've got a Twitter Space phone and a video recording thing, and we're technically live on Twitch right now, but I don't know if anybody's going to come, and if they come, they will see just two hot people that can get away with not knowing what we're doing.
Very overheated.
Like if you put us next to your average guys on Twitch, they just can't compete.
I mean, we used to be cool. One time.
Even being cool at one time makes you cooler than average.
Right.
One day we'll get old.
So like we're breaking all the laws of the planet right now because we're hot and we're cool.
That's right. There's nobody who's both hot and cool on the left. It's just us. Anyway, it's good to be here. There is an audience participation aspect, we suppose. If you come in on Twitter and you're a guest on our Twitter space, and we look down and we see you, we can call on you potentially, and you can come and talk on what we're also doing as a live stream show, I suppose. So that's what's happening.
Yeah, so also this is the first time that we've done this, obviously. Well, not the live stream part, but the whole
weird, goofy, gimmicky formations and shit for putting things out.
If you couldn't tell, we're old millennials. Figuring it out though. So
this is really ambitious shit. So, I mean, we could either get someone will send us $10 to our Patreon, and it'll probably
just to my Cash App.
Yeah, send it to Alyssa's Cash App, and it'll probably be enough that we could just buy some way to do this without all of this ghetto tactics. But we want to get as much. This is such insular navel gazing, but nobody's doing it now. But we want to. It's great, but no, we want to have like
pride.
All right, listen. Here's what we usually do. I tell you what's happening in the news, and you're just shocked all the time.
Yeah.
So here's what's happening.
Wait, before you do that, okay. Let's see. Wait, well, I'm not even gonna look.
Okay.
But I was just gonna say, let's see if after all of the formerly overwhelmingly optimistic Alyssa can still have the genuine, innocent naivete of surprise at the news now. So I'm ready.
The news, I like to find really fucked up stories. And when somebody publishes a really...
Is that what you're friends with me?
Yeah, exactly. Your whole life, let me tell you. It's just like if we were to do like a segment, just Alyssa's life or weird news, we could just put headlines from like shit. I might qualify for some of this shit too. Just put my voice or my life headlines with some bullshit news from The Weird or The Sun or some shit.
Okay, segment idea.
Oh God.
Building off of what you just said, I feel like we could have a lot of fun with like real news article or fake news article, but the caveat being their real life things that we've done.
Oh God, that's a great idea.
I know. That's why
here's the thing. Our lives are, and this isn't like even trying to act cute, but just like our lives are cooler than most of the news.
I mean,
or it's at least more interesting.
I'm living a Florida man kind of life, but whatever.
Yeah, we're both.
Whatever you want to go with.
We're both very Florida man adjacent.
I prefer parallel.
Sure.
Anyways,
listen, let's look at this news story. It's turbo fucked. Furious Irishman loads up on year's supply of cheap booze before ban kicks in.
So Turbo fucked, did you mean it's absolutely fucked that there's a cheap beer tax?
Yes, and in fact, this is why it's hard to do news with you, because like you got to the whole point of this before I
Before
could
you
even
read the article?
walk the article, walk the people through it and shit. Yeah, this guy bought
Okay, walk people through
300
it.
cans of Pilsner and 100 bottles of lager. He just stuffed, and you can see it here, a big ass shopping cart with just all the beer that he could get a hand on. This guy's a photographer. He's 47 years old.
So
And the only people affected by this are the less well off. The wealthy won't notice. I went to the local Aldi on Monday and spent about 350 pounds, which meant I saved about 200 pounds. Usually, if I go to the off license, I buy a 6-pack. This time, off license just means no name brand, fucking cheap, shitty beer. I'll buy
Hello, Pabst Blue Ribbon. We liked your tweet the other day.
I like Pabst Blue Ribbon, actually. So
it's Jesus water, so I'm not surprised.
Let me tell you. And that's what they called me, Baby Jesus. This time I stocked up. I like a beer, but I'm not a big drinker, and I wouldn't bother with spirits, so that'll do me for the next year. In summer, I'll throw them into the ice bucket, and I won't have to worry about being ripped off. When I go fishing by the river, I'll bring a few cans, and I know I won't be ripped off. When I'm going
He's
camping,
gonna leave them in the river so that they stay cold too. He won't bring an ice cooler, anything like that. That fucker's just gonna set him in a fishing net off the side of this boat to keep it cold in the water. I'm not speaking from experience.
When I'm taking a shit, I won't be ripped off. Middle of the night, I won't be ripped off. Got the runs from cheap beer, but still don't have anything else in the house to drink but cheap beer. I won't be ripped off. To be fair, Jericon, I don't know what your accent is. I can't do a terrible American impersonation, so I'm just gonna
American.
Listen. No, because when the lockdown first happened, and the Jericon continues here in the UK, so probably not American, Alyssa.
Sorry, I thought you said I can't do a good American accent. That's why I laughed.
I can't do a good accent as an American. I'm just trash.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, you are.
But when the lockdown started, we can charge on Patreon for that clip. Think about it. I bought about 2 weeks worth of day drinking just to be safe. Got to be prepared for those lockdown come down. Go ahead. We're bosses in the world of lockdown come down.
Jericon, I don't use pounds as a monetary system, but I too stocked up on alcohol when the lockdown happened in the United States, and I put on other various forms of pounds. So it may not have been money, but
I know.
I get ya.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
you barely wanted to go on camera. This is why you've been off for the last 6 months.
That is not entirely true, but it is largely also true. And joke on the large. You're welcome, everyone.
Mr.
Brandon calling me out.
It doesn't matter. Listen, we've got to get all the way up to 3 views. That's our goal. When I did this show with Kennedy, they would always be upset if I made fun of our numbers. And for fair reasons, like, it's not like a crazy point, but it's just like, if you're, you've got to make sure that people know you're a big deal in every aspect of the game.
But that's the thing. That's silly. But also, people view shit after you are done recording it. I swear to God, Kylie. So for anybody that doesn't know me or isn't familiar with me, because I've been off the internet for a while, I used to do a lot of live streams on Periscope, Brandon, but also my daughter was really into it, and so she'd read books, and one of the most viewed videos I have is, for better or worse, my, at the time, 8-year-old reading Mother Bruce, the book, and it has more than 3,800 views.
You'll get the numbers eventually. The content is what matters, and you're killing it, guy. Listen, what's really crazy is we had numbers. This is like telling Rocky, like, don't, Rocky looks so bad in the
Don't
gym. It's
shit
like,
on the compliment.
one day, no, I'm just saying we used to be contenders. We used to be champions.
Brandon, since he called me out on my weight gain, has also continually referred to us as has-beens every time we have a fucking phone call.
Everybody on the left knows is that feeling that has been feeling. You knew how good it felt when you had that Bernie in your veins.
Well,
but we're wrung out. We're sober, but we're still hot. It's incredible.
Sober's taking it a little far, but all right.
But listen,
just juice. It's mom juice.
But our man, Mr. Boyle, continues. He added he was angered by ministers Frank Fahan and Stephen Donnelly driving the move, which he
called
said
out
only puts more financial pressure on those struggling with soaring living costs. And he said, how dare they pretend they know how ordinary people feel? If you're on minimum wage and you buy a slab of beer that'll last you 2 weeks, it'll cost you 45 pounds now instead of 25 pounds now. How does that help?
Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, I have 3 things I want to say about this article.
He's woke.
Okay, so maybe 2 things. But my first thing, my dumbass, I just tried to scroll the article. But go all the way back up, Brandon, really quick. Bear with me. What's the title of this article?
Furious Irishman loads up on year's supply of beer at Aldi the day before cheap beer.
Okay, so I feel like this is the UK version of Florida Man that they're presenting him as.
Yes.
Angry Irishman, Florida Man, there's some similarities there.
But Irish paper is well, I don't know. The Mirror might be owned by a British firm. And this could be like yeah. Wow.
So there's that, but also can we go back to portraying Mr. Boyle, whom I happen to like very much now, as this wild, it just plays so hard on the generalization stereotypes and like
the headline of this story, if you don't read it and hear what he's saying, the headline is that this guy just ran out and, Irish guy buys alcohol.
Right. Well, and if you don't read this story, then you also may take away this concept of like, well, if he's so concerned about the people that are low income, how come he could afford to buy, what do they call them? A slab of beer? I like that. Is that like slang for slab? Slab slang?
I think slab is like a case. I can confirm that Angry Irishman is our Florida man.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got this guy sounding like groundskeeper Willie from The Simpsons, but he's a regular ass dude. He's got a job, and how many times have you or me kicked back with one of those PBRs? And imagine if boy, it's too cheap to get this is a hate crime against millennials. We're all still drinking fucking PBR.
Especially the ones that could literally only afford to go to the free skate parks in town. It's like I had a Brandon knows. Back in my cringier days, one of my very favorite trucker
cringe, which is why we can joke about it.
Right, exactly. Never, not once. I won't even, but which is one of my favorite hats used to be a PBR trucker hat. To the point where it was so old, my mom threw it away. I was 25 too. That wasn't like a kid thing.
I'd still wear PBR merchandise if they sent it to us.
Especially after their hilarious banging eat ass Twitter thread the other day.
I almost had the eat ass thread as one of the stories for this.
We could have gotten such a good clip of Clerks in there.
That's so true.
That was one of my favorite movies. It's stupid, but anyways, back to the story.
He says this minimum unit pricing is another kick in the teeth. He said rents, energy bills, insurance have doubled. Now drink has doubled. In rural Ireland, people aren't earning big money. I was on the
Fuck,
PUP and I
man.
found it a struggle. It's crazy to do this now with people trying to live on the PUP and the clubs close, the pubs closing at 8 p.m. Yeah, and apparently it means the end to promotional prices and cheap drink, with a bottle of wine having a floor price of $7.40 and a bottle of vodka $20.71. I don't
Jesus.
I don't know exactly how much a pound is. I always consider it slightly more than $1. Like I think
Yeah.
it was like $1.15 or something like that. And imagine if somebody like bottle of vodka minimum $20.
I specifically buy my vodka that's made in Santa Cruz County for $7.99, and they just raised the price to $8.99, and I was outraged.
Yeah.
Outraged. But I think another thing here, and I'm not entirely sure if I feel like most of the people who are listening to this are going to be like, well, yeah, that's fucking obvious, because it is. But like, how many fucking people from different parts of the fucking world need to come out and say, like, we can't fucking do this anymore? And at the very least, let us have these various forms of not over the top, expensive ways of escapism. Like, I'm not asking for you guys to give me free golden bottles of champagne, but it'd be nice if I could get a buzz on to fucking deal with shit.
And like, people are going to go fucking crazy. They're going to lose their minds.
Well, but it's also, it goes back to that targeting of things too, because, okay, let's be real. Are the rich people purchasing fucking cheap beer? Are the people who can afford it purchasing the cheap beer? Probably not. And we go back to, okay, sorry, I smeared my lipstick because I was drinking a cocktail, but back to this, which is that on top of the issue of who is and who is not. I fixed my lipstick. You can put me back on, bitch.
Yeah, all right. I just didn't want to listen. I didn't want you to feel insecure out on Front
Street. No, I'm feeling grand. But what I was getting, oh, there I am. I was looking at you and it was me. But one of the things I was trying to get at is there is a correlation between how these prices rise and who they're targeting and who they're affecting. So we also see that in cigarettes and vaping. And I have a lot of like leftist friends who are super anti-vaping and are super anti-smoking. And they're like, no more flavored cigarettes and no more flavored vape juice. And okay, like on the one hand, I understand that there's a good intent behind it, but it goes back down to the people being targeted are, in general, on average, the people who are having, you know, fucking paycheck to paycheck and or are of lower income and like lower to middle class incomes. It's not like you have the fucking upper 1% who are like, you know what, I really just want some PBR. And even if they are, it's not going to matter to them, I guess. I don't know. I'm not rich. I don't have money. But to bring this all together, it's not only is this not going to prevent people from drinking, so it's not like an effort to prevent them from drinking, just like it's not an effort to prevent people from smoking, even though you see all these campaigns against vape and flavored cigarettes, and they're like, help stop our youth from smoking. And you're like, okay, but tobacco's been around for how fucking long?
A very long time.
And definitely longer than fucking watermelon flavored vape juice. And I have to say that I find it highly fucking unlikely that if we stop selling flavored things, then we're just going to have a bunch of youth who are like, you know what, never mind, fuck that. Even though we've had tobacco and have tobacco off the backs of hundreds of thousands of people or whatever. But we also go back to this, again, who does it target? And then how much does that affect it? And again, I can't help but feel like this is a quality of life policing kind of thing in its own various ways. So that's my angry rant.
Let me welcome Kiko to the Twitter Spaces. Welcome Mitty to the Twitter Spaces. I also want to thank Jericon for following us on Twitch. I barely want to plug us. We're not Safe Media on Twitch, but like, I don't know how we're gonna proceed from here. So follow or don't. There's a possibility that people in the UK born after 2008 will never be able to buy tobacco products. How do you feel about that? Well, let me take up half the space here before we answer the question. This flavored flavored tobacco am I not being woke enough for saying this? I just feel like kids
Yes.
today are too smart to smoke tobacco, just by and large. And the people who are really buying tobacco are just regular people who are broke and just trying to get through it. Like, who's buying clove cigarettes? It's
Oh
middle
my god.
agers. Look, it's it's us. We're the people that are still buying
No.
fucking clove.
No.
Oh, you're
No.
anti-clove
I'm
cigarettes?
the first brand of cigarettes I smoked was cloves for like a month or two, and then it got to the point where like 20-year-old Alyssa would kick people out of parties if I smelled cloves
That's
cigarettes
funny.
because I was an asshole. They just like Dejaron Blacks. Like, okay, fine, I get it, but I did. But I feel like go ahead with what you're gonna say, and then I have a counter opinion.
Yeah,
Different. I think you're wrong.
I don't think that the flavored cigarettes are really reaching the young kids. I think that candy bullshit is really for like people who are our age and just trying to cope.
Well, but here. So there's two aspects to this. First, talking about the coping, I do think that there's also this limitation on it. It does really prevent people from quitting using original tobacco products because if I know that it's hit or miss. Not everybody uses vaping to quit smoking, but I know there are studies and I have a lot of anecdotal experience of people who have been able to quit smoking cigarettes and then started vaping and then stopped vaping and have entirely been free of that. So I do think that there is a benefit to vaping. Also, fair disclaimer, I fucking vape and I smoke cigarettes, so I'm just not even pretend I don't have any bias in this.
Well,
but
you are like the kind of person that is like this furious Irishman and is just getting day to day to get by. And it's not like you're buying cheap booze all the time and living the 100% pure dirtbag lifestyle every minute of every day. Of course not you. But you may choose.
It ain't me, babe.
You may choose to indulge in something that's of this tier from time to time. And vice crimes, I feel maybe need to be applied to the rich more than they need to be applied to
always that. But what I go back to on your other point though is I live in between two different high schools that I drive by. I can't tell you how many times not only have I seen kids smoking, I've been smoking and had teenagers be like, hey, can I bum a smoke from you?
So, all right. So you're saying is kids' tobacco abuse like a real thing that we should?
Maybe, but by banning flavored cigarettes, I don't think that that's going to change the tobacco thing. In fact, once you get addicted to nicotine, if you're vaping, I find it a lot more likely that they're going to go find other nicotine-related products than to be like, you know what? It's just not going to be for me. And then I'm like, so I guess this whole question of born after 2008 will never be able to buy tobacco products. How do you feel about that? I realize the health risks. I realize this might be a hot take, I guess, but I'm like, of all of the things to fucking be really pushing, is tobacco smoke our biggest? That's our biggest concern right now. We gotta fucking cut that out. Can't have it. Nope. And then primarily, who are the people who engage with those behaviors? It's typically fucking poor people. Point blank. Period.
So listen, I've got ironically, and hello to everybody on Twitter Spaces. Elroy, I'm a big fan of your tweets.
I don't get the notifications on who's joining us and stuff, so
that's why I'm saying you are listed as a co-host, may I add. So you should be able to pull this up on your desktop or something. But either way, we're also taking as our friends wander in, stories from work. If you have a story of malpractice or if you've got a story of solidarity or anything, any story from work.
Or like malicious compliance. I like that shit too.
Yeah, anything that's a good story that you want to tell. We don't mind putting you on for a couple of minutes. But we're also just going through the news, just kind of keeping it loose here. We're also streaming. We're just trying to do a hybridization of every possible thing.
Right.
Little
Who's that
Caesars.
lady?
Some of this video.
Oh, I know. Okay, I'm ready for this.
Little Caesars is no longer $5. The hot and readies.
Are you
They're $5.55. It's the first price increase in 25 years. They're putting more pepperoni on it just because pepperoni's not that expensive, and the people are very grateful for pepperoni in America. Let me tell you.
Can you go there and say, I don't want the pepperoni, I'd just like to pay $5?
No, of course
please.
not, because they're making tremendous profit. The price increase is the point. And
I was literally just telling my daughter like 2 days ago that she wanted pizza. And I was like overdrawn, but I had a $5 bill. And I was like, well, we could go to Little Caesars. Guess we can't. I only had a $5.
Oh, well. God, holy shit.
Poverty.
That just sucks. God damn. We're not out here telling fables. But yeah, listen, inflation, Biden's America, you know how it is. You know what else? People are just yeah. Jericon on Twitch says, can't believe an American just said Fiverr.
Does it have other connotations? I mean, it does here too, I guess. But I'd be interested to know this.
This isn't the only meal that people are spending too much money on. Reality Jar sells fart jar NFTs.
Speaking of which, anybody want to fucking buy a jar of farts from me?
This woman, listen, let me tell you, we all need to get into the fart selling game.
You almost said smelling, and I was like, I'm pretty sure you already do that, Brandon.
The fart smelling game is clearly fucking full, and they are being very, very active.
Okay, but on a very serious note, we do have a speaker request.
Let's bring on our speaker request after
you talk about smelling farts.
Yeah, I want to introduce this story. So this girl sells fart in a jar, and as emblematic of late capitalism as humanly possible, she's over-optimized for farts. And there was a time when we really had class and dignity. There
was not. You're full of shit.
In the Shakespearean
you should sell shit in a jar.
In the Shakespearean world, this woman would have just bottled her farts naturally. But now it's post-industrialization. So listen,
Brayden only wants organic farts. He's like, would have been natural.
More poetic if you were just bottling them when you got the urge. Now, she's eating all eggs and beans and shit. Make an industrial line of farts to sell. And so she put herself in the hospital. And so, obviously she can't stop making money off of simps. The exploitation can never stop. It just has to morph. So now she's selling NFTs of bottles of farts. We've gone too far as a society. We've gone too fucking far. What is happening? Let's let our speaker on. Do you want to run that? Can you do it? I'll do it.
Yeah, you go. All right.
I don't mind. Who do we got? We got requested.
I think it's it was Paul.
Yeah, Paul. Get in here.
Come on, baby. Oh no, you.
Yeah, if you like the floor, you asked for the mic, so I'm giving you an opportunity to. Do you have a story from work or a comment on the NFT world? Go, give me what you got.
So, I remember I was in high school when 9/11 happened, and I was working a job in my senior year of high school at a restaurant. I remember right before the infamous day, I was supposed to switch shifts or take a shift of someone I've known for a while since, I think, middle school. This girl who was normally very chill and very nice to me when I first met her. But when we started working together, she just became very impatient and kind of mean with me. So anyway, we had these tentative plans to switch shifts. And the one day that I had off on that week or any given week was to
This bitch.
And so anyway, I'm just going to, it's probably just easier. I'm going to share these two tweets because I tweeted about this on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I tweeted about this. Basically, literally the day after 9/11, she comes up to me at work and goes like, "Hey, thanks for letting me know that you can't switch shifts." Like, this is 9/12 when everyone's like losing their mind.
Right.
And, that's basically my work story.
Alyssa, can you pull this up on your computer?
I sure can.
Share this as a tab, because
Let's see.
And Paul, I'm gonna come in and just tell you, we've been cracking up laughing because we're trying to run, and no one's ever done this before. We're real revolutionaries here. We're trying to run a Twitter space and like a Twitch stream at the same time. So as you're giving your story, I'm playing with the camera, and Alyssa is like waving her hand in front of it like this, and we're just bickering like idiots. I'm gonna read your. That's my 9/11 related reason. Ever since I was a teenager, to be okay. Yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm just gonna read this one.
Just read it out loud because apparently Twitter won't let me sign in. So.
Oh Lord. Okay, I got it. I was tentatively supposed to switch shifts with a restaurant coworker on 9/11. Given what happened, I completely forgot to call them to say yes or no. A day or two later, they were mad with me that I didn't call them. LOL. That's my 9/11 related reason ever since I was a teenager to be reserved, skeptical of the workers we must join a union in solidarity, revolutionary optimism rhetoric. It's just not that easy or simple. You're fucking on it. Listen.
Reread that.
That's the
There's not always solidarity in your workplace with your coworkers. Like, just on that kind of
right. Like the
people are just completely looking out for number one, because that's kind of what you have to do if you're living a hand-to-mouth way of living.
And this Paul is not some deep level of revolutionary leftist solidarity. This is just not being an asshole to the people that you work with, and knowing that you all went through like a traumatic thing together.
Right.
I think
I really don't understand. A lot of my timeline, they really talk about work like they've never actually worked, like a real.
I identify with that.
Jobs.
Where did everything go? Oh no, I thought they were talking about me.
That's a great story. I'm gonna remove you from speakers, but if you want to come back up, just holler at us. Stories from work. I want to do these like a while, and I think that would be super cool.
Hey, Brandon, should we start like a thread on this? Sorry, I'm multitasking because apparently my Twitter account is suspended.
What'd you do, Alyssa? That can't be.
They were like, that bitch came back and we're kicking her off.
You didn't tweet anything. You haven't done anything.
I did today.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't tweet anything controversial.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, that's a great way to start. But no, we'll be fine. We'll check into it. We'll figure it out. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it, but so I'm going to stop fucking around with that and just focus on what we're doing. So everybody that noticed I was distracted, my sincerest apologies. Okay. So
you're not listed as suspended. with me, by the way. So we'll see what
Okay.
happens.
Kiko! Sorry, Kiko
Don't-
Gomez wants to speak, and I love Kiko.
All right, Kiko, I'm pulling you up. Stories from work. Hello.
Ruh-roh.
Kiko, you're muted, but when you feel like talking, you start talking.
We're here for it. Mama needs another cocktail, so I'm gonna do that.
Cool. Because right now I'm currently smoking a blunt, but I do appreciate seeing you guys again. It's been a while. It's been real. Also, I don't know about a story from work, but I will say though that the workplace that I'm at currently, it is kind of interesting because we're currently going through an understaffing issue across the board. And one of the main reasons is because of like I would say management has not been listening to the workers on the floor, and it is seemed to be true across the country with management not listening to the workers in terms of like pay, in terms of like hours, in terms of like actual like benefits and needs that people want to actually come for. Because currently, right now, we're in a sick flux because we actually have an actual news item against the workplace I'm at due to sexual harassment allegations by a coworker I do know of, and it's been kind of swept under the rug for multiple times, and this person's been moved around from department to department, and it is to me very frustrating that we still have companies that are unwilling to actually address sexual harassment in a meaningful, positive way and ensure that female employees or just employees in general can be taken seriously when it comes to sexual harassment claims.
What is the situation at your workplace in terms of like how escalated are these grievances? Like, how united are the people who are working there?
Well, it's right now.
Is this just like a long running pattern that's been happening to the women there? Is there like a union that they're working it through? What's the situation like there?
I'll give you. So it's a bunch of former employees that got together and actually took it to the news, and the news ran with it, and it's also been in print media about the sexual harassment allegations.
That's good. I mean, that means they have a lot more. I mean, maybe this company is just dug in too deep, but like at this stage, they must have like a lot of leverage they can put onto the company, right?
Well, what's unfortunate though is levied at one department, not multiple departments. So because the food and beverage department doesn't have a union whatsoever, and that's the problem we have. Is that the workplace I work at, we don't have unionization across the board. We just don't, and so we don't have a streamlined grievance process in terms of ensuring that employees actually get their grievances being heard, and or challenging management in a meaningful way of telling them to reverse a lot of policies that are actually detrimental to the workplace.
What do you want to do about this? Like, what is it? Something that you need in terms of getting everybody on the right page? It just seems like it's a completely fucked up situation since it's built into the structure of the company.
Well, the best thing you can do is try to have all the coworkers advocate for more of the I would say safety meeting trainings on how to respect other team members.
Yeah. Safety meetings. You still there, Kiko?
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, all right. So everybody, we're here. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter Spaces, and we're just sharing stories from work. I'm here with Alyssa Vieira, my longtime lore and logistics co-host, and we're just playing around with doing like a hybrid format and just seeing if it is good, or because these Twitter Spaces, they require like hours of hanging out in the room to really kick off. And there's tons of good conversation that you have to have. And Alyssa, I think
I'm here.
we're both people that just get in the mood and want to hang out, and then we just do it. Kiko is just talking about a shitty situation at work.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I had my headphones in and was totally interacting. I didn't realize I left myself on mute, but even if I'm not on the screen, I could hear you. But one of my questions was, and kind of relating back to, I think it was Paul who we just talked to before Kiko, which was, how do you feel like there's solidarity? Oh, wow. The echo on that is ferocious. But at least it was the word solidarity, eh? Is there solidarity like within your department? And then do you feel like there's even worker solidarity more broadly? Because again, I feel like, and this is coming from somebody who, like hardcore, I don't know if I can use the word leftist, but I'm definitely far left, has watched as the left burns itself to fucking pieces, because as much as we tout solidarity for others, I feel like sometimes we're a little bit shitty about it and not quite good at that. So I'm just curious what the situation is like at your work, and if you think that's even an aspect of import. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Kiko talked a little bit about this, and if you want to flash your mic, I'll let you on here. But I guess my response to that would just be every workplace is different, and it's not as simple. I mean, even in Paul's story, it's not as simple as everybody unite and join a union, because everybody in your workplace is in a different fucking situation. Sex workers talk about that all the time in their own world or whatever. Paul, welcome back. Take your time. Yeah.
I think there is no left.
You gotta turn that up.
I've been to Cuba twice. I'm from Florida. I've been to Cuba twice. Once right before the pandemic, actually.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
You can't start from any sort of ideological way in terms of organizing a workplace or even understanding work in this country. You actually have to do it with in the back of your mind knowing that I'm being exploited as shit. I can curse on here. I hope that's not a problem.
Yeah, nobody.
I don't know if you've heard me, but I can't say anything without fucking it usually.
Right. Same.
Fucking it!
You actually have to do it.
I can't hear Paul anymore.
Because it's a horrible way to live. And people get by, people make do sometimes, but it's not easy. It takes a toll on you. And anyway, the comment about the left burning itself down, I'm just like, what left? I mean,
yeah, what's left
to do, in my opinion, in terms of organizing a workplace, is be nice, cover people's shifts when they need to, be the guy that does favors, be the person, I should say, that does favors for people. Try to gain interpersonal trust and a general good rapport with people. You do that first, whether you're in a workplace or whether you're doing larger community organizing. You do that first just on a basic interpersonal level of, I kind of like that guy, or that guy seems okay, that kind of thing. Then, and only then, can you start bullshitting with people and have beers with them and trading like we are, like trading sob stories about work. And my fucking boss, my fucking manager,
right?
This sucks. And then when you get through that kind of phase of a deeper interpersonal, more trusting relationship, then and only then, if you are ideologically inclined and they are at least ideologically primed to listen to what you're saying, then and only then can you say, hey, let me tell you about Marxism. And that's that very slow, crushingly slow patience testing process. That is how we can, not even a left wing, but basic class consciousness in this country.
Yes. I agree 1,000%. For those of you who were around when I was definitely doing more on the internet, sorry. So one of the things I was going to say is, one of my favorite groups of people to work with were low-income, blue-collar folks, specifically those who were Republican identifying or had these types of backgrounds. Sorry, shit's going wild. But because again, and this is a more condensed interaction because I was canvassing in Iowa, so it's not like a continuous thing in the workplace. Brandon's probably so sick of this fucking story.
No, I feel like I'm in a cartoon. I'm right under the flow of the screen. I'm juggling like 4 different things. I'm not sure what's on or what's off, but we'll spare no expense to get this thing working. But Alyssa, continue telling your story. Keep going.
So I'm just kind of reiterating what Paul said. But so when I was canvassing for Bernie in Iowa, I ended up getting to the point where me and my girl Lorena and oh my gosh, this other cat Ryan, I ended up getting put in all of the low income or the super Trumpy areas, the trailer parks and all that, because we were really able to go in there and not do the like, here's all of my Bernie information, and if you don't like it, then I'm gonna leave, or whatever the case was, but being able to like really hang out and identify. And we ended up visiting this one area a couple times, which was a trailer park that had been owned and sustained by a certain family for a long time, and then they got bought out by a corporation that really just wanted to take the whole park out and rebuild it for commercial use. And so they did a rent increase that was super, super gnarly. And so we're talking to all these, it's a really big spectrum of there's a lot of diversity in this park. And so we're asking people like, because meanwhile at home we were organizing some cola protests and stuff like that. We're like, have you engaged with community building and kind of actively looking to start organizing and building some sort of movement with, not quite as intentional words, if you will. But the short version is we end up talking and everybody was like, no, I don't know my neighbors. I would never do that. And so one of the last Fridays we were there, we went after we'd finished our canvassing and we helped them host this potluck and stuff, kept in contact with a couple of people, and they actually ended up organizing, and all of them did a rent strike, and they still live there. So my long-winded tangent on that is, again, it's the multiple visits and it's the not coming on super strong. So I'm just reiterating, I super agree with you. Yeah. Tangent.
I want to mention that I knocked a lot of trailer doors for the Bernie campaign in South Carolina.
Nice. We've talked before, I think.
Even though it was a tough loss there, really bad loss, and Bernie clearly has so much work to do if he's ever going to run again, which, maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't. But if someone like Bernie is going to run again and run in a Democratic primary in South Carolina, clearly he has a lot of work to do with particularly older Black voters. That much was very clear from the week or two that I spent knocking doors in rural central South Carolina. But almost every door I knocked, needless to say, was a Black household, somewhat middle-aged to older, and almost all trailers.
Well, and that's kind of
Doors.
one of the kickers to there is the large influence of the military there, especially how hard they go with the recruiting and that like instilling this false sense of patriotism. That's the word. But but I feel like you were one of the people I talked to and was trying to help you fundraise when you were in South Carolina. But there was a lot of people when we were doing the outreach stuff.
Fantastic.
Huh?
Yeah, me and a couple organizers took Knowles for Bernie, the FSU chapter.
Nice.
In Florida.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you helped out in some small way with that, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Yeah, we did, but we got the same help too because we were the only Californians in the Bernie thing. But moving away from Bernie, because I will talk about it forever, it's the golden year. I think that again, that is one of the greatest downfalls of the leftist community is that not that we're super strongly opinionated, but like a lot of times we don't take the time to just be like a little bit fucking nice before we're like, no, you're super wrong. I'm not saying be super nice. That could be taken the wrong way, but
dude, like, yeah, the fact that you've gotta like have a 5-minute long disclaimer over basic social skills. That's part of what we're fucking talking about, man.
Right.
Like, listen, I don't mean to just tell you when I just say, like, look someone in the eye and don't act like a beady-eyed maniac. People will be like, what do you mean beady-eyed? Nobody's going to be perfect. And obviously, like, when you're dealing with a person, you're going to be hopefully trying to delve into the depths of how they need to be treated in order to have a happy life in this world and all that good stuff. But yeah, just human beings, no policy is going to be as urgent as their day-to-day life and their day-to-day needs.
Brandon, I have a story for you after you're done with this. I'm going to get it ready right now. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, your attitude is just not going to be more important than their daily needs. And not that I plan on busting my back in the hot sun for fucking Democrats. I stopped doing that many, many years ago. But canvassing for anything, whether it's a political candidate or just any neighborhood initiative, will really teach you humility. Because even if like you get used to having conversations with people and you know what they're gonna say and you know how to massage how to massage a person one way or another, no matter what happens, you are going to realize that you run into those people and those thought patterns more than you expect. And if you are a person that's listening to them, and you're going to have to listen to them in order to be good at this shit, hopefully you're going to develop care and concern for those people and their situations and a heartfelt empathy that will make you a better servant of the public. And unfortunately, too many people get into HGOs and human management from their corporate job and haven't gone through the humbling work of like getting to understand people, because you need that neighborhood support to get something done. And it's not always something that you can pull off 3 weeks before a primary election. And honestly,
or if there's a bunch of fucking bullshit going on, because primaries are super legit in the United States.
Well,
I'm not bitter.
My point is just bigger than
I know.
My point's bigger than primaries on that. It's bigger than elections. All right, Kiko.
Well, and my point. Oh
yeah. Forget
Brandon's
your point. No, I'm
Brandon's so sick of my shit.
You can't see the Twitter space, so I gotta be the cop here. So Kiko,
you always are the cop.
Take the mic, and Alyssa, you tag on right
after. Shut the fuck up. All right.
Oh. Kiko, what's up?
Hey, so sorry. Yeah, I had to deal with family at the moment, but yeah, no, it is it is for me. Listening to the conversation, and I'll get to that in a moment. It is hard to have people unionize within a workplace, especially in a conservative area. That's where I'm at. And I'm in a conservative area where unionization here is not very well taken here. So even if there is unionization, it's very bare bones and it's very exclusive, which is again also problematic because you want to be inclusive to include everybody on the spectrum and those who have different ethnicities, race, gender, etc. And I feel like I'm in a time warp here where we're kind of progressing forward, but at the same time we're still not
Yeah, I mean,
just being in a union is not
the union is made of people, and I'm in Georgia. It's a right to work state, the old right to work hellhole. And I'll tell you, it really reflects material conditions. Your union is going to be as strong as its material conditions, just like a regular person. Or just it doesn't have to be even union chat. It can just be any group of people. Groups of people don't tend to conform to people's political theory. That's why we talk to people instead of, yeah.
No,
that's
you're right there.
Yeah. That's why we do it. Alyssa, go for it.
Oh my God. I'll take my ADHD meds someday.
No, this is your time. Go nuts.
Well, so, and I think to kind of add to what you guys are both saying, though, I live in Santa Cruz County, California. And this is a county that prides itself on how liberal they are. Unironically, and I know for most of the people listening to this, that's probably an ironic and hilarious statement. I agree 1,000%, but they mean that in an unironic sense. And it's bad. But one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a couple different things going on where you'd think that it'd be easier. I thought it would be easier for me to talk about decriminalization of drugs, movements to help with homelessness that we have in Santa Cruz County, which is astounding where I live. I can't even express it enough. And have a couple different horror stories that I'm going to bring up later about the homelessness here. But the other aspect is the extreme social and fiscal stratification that we have. It is in the last 20 years, Santa Cruz went from being expensive parts, there's some big houses here, there's some beach houses here, to where, I swear every week it's one more block away from the beach that are just vacation rentals. They're houses that stay empty for 99% of the year. And it was a trip, as an example, because even when I was in high school, whatever year that was.
Yeah, last year.
Don't know anymore.
Right after the pandemic.
Yeah, something. But so when I was in high school, I lived up in a mountain area that put me on a border between Santa Cruz County high schools, which are at the time weren't considered good high schools, and on the border with Los Gatos High, which, for those of you who aren't familiar with the state of California, Los Gatos High is
why would we? Why would
just
we?
Don't. Avoid that town like the fucking COVID plague. It's just so fucking ritzy. I mean, I'm not kidding you. The parking lot for that high school was filled with the lowest class kind of cars were BMWs. I swear to God, I went to school with somebody who had 2 Maseratis. Porsches, and these are all high school students, their first kids, Camaros. Surprisingly, a child died, or a teenager died almost every year from car accidents. my high school was right next to a Lotus dealership. But my point with all of this was they shit, I might have forgotten my point. But social and fiscal stratification. So over there, I went to high school, and then I for 2 years there, and I could not fucking handle it. And so I finally convinced my parents to let me go to Santa Cruz High School. And so when I was in high school, and I had switched, I had not one friend, but I had like at least 10 kids that I went to school with in Los Gatos that I kind of stayed in contact with after I left, who would be like, oh, hey, just wanted to let you know we're gonna go to our beach house in Santa Cruz for the weekend. And I'd get there and I'd be like, this shit's been empty for every fucking weekend except for when they decide to go. And it's like a full house, and we have people living in the street, like right outside of this house. And that was before this super gnarly gentrification happened here, which I mean, it's slowly been progressing, but in the last 10 to 15 years, it has gotten so out of control. And so bringing this all back around to talking about like how they consider themselves liberal and stuff like that, it has been astonishing to see like how much more hardcore people are in Santa Cruz now, and how much more difficult it is to talk to people about these things, because they'll say things like it's almost worse for me, where, you know, I'm okay with discussing or having some discourse with the Republican that has a different point of view as me. What I really don't like is talking to somebody who identifies as a Democrat and it gets mad at me because they're like, I'm already doing my work, or I don't know how to articulate this quite well, but
Right.
It's funny to hear.
I want to take a crack at articulating your point, but I want to take a 30-second. We're going to take 30 seconds, and I'm going to play with my speaker a little bit.
You're right.
We'll see how integrated we are. And Paul, if you want to chime in, I will let you do it. Wait, not yet, but you're coming up.
Brandon's sassy.
I have no idea how this is going to work out, but it's my hope that I will be able to efficiently manage this Twitter space. So, Paul, when you hear what's going on, just hop on.
And
Paul,
Brandon, I'm not logged in, so I can't be in control of the StreamYard.
Okay, that sounds good. Get in there, and we're still playing with our format, but talk.
Yeah, when Alyssa mentioned about how she had an easier time, Alyssa. And I've heard that a lot, and I hadn't heard that in a little bit, but I had heard that a lot in the past, especially in 2019 and 2020. I think there's so many ways to parse that sentence. Yeah. I think it really gets, particularly Democrat voters, really puts their hackles up in an understandable way, because on one hand, essentially, at least during the sort of the Bernie sort of electoral section of our movement, we were ostensibly asking/asserting entry into the Democratic Party and reshape it in a way that, while not ideal, it would be more humane and more speaking to its base of young people, of people of color, of working class or poor people, right? That's essentially the ask and the demand we were making. So when, let's say a Bernie organizer or Bernie volunteer says something like, well, in an open primary state, for example, where you might knock on a Democrat door or a Republican door or an independent door. I had, better luck. I had more traction talking to, a typical Republican or Trump voter. First off, I think anyone who would willingly vote for Trump, probably you can't necessarily take everything they're saying to you at a door at face value. You can't take anything anyone says to you at a door at face value.
Especially not a Trump. I mean, listen, Trump supporters are very woke in their own ways. They see. Listen, you've got to know what you got to follow me here, which is in the sense that they understand the performative aspect of politics. When they flip their opinion on how the economy is going based on who the president is, it's because they understand the nature of power politics, and that creating the vision or illusion of a consensus helps make their side look stronger. Democrats don't need that kind of stuff. And when Alyssa talked about the Democrats and feeling like it's harder to connect to like a wealthy liberal voter than a poor Trump voter sometimes, it's because
I can't hear anything.
Their worldview kind of has a mandatory denial or putting down of social problems, because they are closer to the like ideal world of liberalism, and they can't reject like the stuff that's at the core. And even when you look at right-wing people, they reject, I think, the core of the democratic process and all of the practical aspects of how the country works, because the numbers are changing, and they know that, and they're not dumb. They're just pretending. Words are weapons. Ideas are soldiers. And they understand that in a way that people who have benefited from that for years understand it.
If we are to agree, if we are to stipulate that Trump voters are more likely to own firearms than non-Trump voters, they don't think words are weapons. They think guns are weapons. I'm sorry for that, like overly materialist.
You've got to remember that it's they are more likely to be Trump voters, but we're also talking about 3% of the country that owns that huge proportion of the guns.
They don't like a bunch of them.
I know, but I don't know if that's the ideal. When we're just talking about who votes, I don't know if that's the ideal way to gauge.
I think it comes down to vulgarity. Honestly, like I think it comes a vulgar way to do politics, and then a vulgar usage of words. And I think maybe there is, however uncomfortably, some common ground with the way Bernie and, let's say, your typical Bernie voter and your typical, or like, let's say Bernie enthusiast and then a Trump enthusiast. I think they both have a similarly vulgar way, both ideologically and rhetorically, of thinking about politics. And I think that right there really truly deeply disgusts the hell out of liberal professional class voters is the ideological and rhetorical vulgarity that they, in a weirdly uncomfortable and not quite one-to-one way, they share. That could be vulgar materialism. That could be like Alyssa said, saying fuck every time they start a sentence. You know what I mean? Like, vulgar has different use terms there. I think you probably catch more flies or goodwill with honey than with vinegar. That old saying. So maybe
sugar than spice.
Way of doing politics isn't necessarily the best way to operate, but it also kind of depends on your audience. Basically, what I was getting at with what Alyssa said about Trump voters were more responsive. I think when we say that, and even though it might be true, I mean, I think that's basically true. But as true as that may be, I think when we say that stuff in earshot of like Democrats, whether they be like an obnoxious corporate kind of professional class lib, or whether they be more of the Democratic base, the working class base, who we're trying to reach, regardless of who they are, I think, I know we don't mean to signal affinity with Trump voters when we say that. It means we somehow are able to reach them better. It's just how it kind of shakes out.
Dude,
When we say that,
I agree with you, but also like I get what you're saying. But when we started this conversation, you were talking about South Carolina, and you were talking about like, boy, what's the connection with older black voters? You don't think that they have all these same conversations and are as politically intelligent as you?
Oh
Because
shit!
of course they know, like the same gamesmanship when you're talking about. They know old black people. They know leftists. They knew them when they were kids. They knew them when they went to college. They knew them in South Carolina. They understand what left wing ideology is. They're not your issue when you're going out to those neighborhoods and you're talking about like your specific supporter isn't about like is the person who's knocking on their door more likely to vote for Donald Trump, because like they understand that not to be the case. There are maybe some liberals who pretend that for it to be something else in order to like win a page war on the New York Times. But that's not a conversation that like that South Carolina voter that votes for Clyburn is having, because they already know what leftists are like. That your difference in operation is on what white people are like, and what they're going to do, what those people that you're complaining about are going to do when confronted with that kind of threat. It's not whether they don't understand the ideas of restorative justice, and it's not that they think that healthcare brings us closer to fascism. That's a totally different group of people, and they have more in common with those Trump voters and understand that words are weapons and psychological warfare against their opponents, because they're well read too. That group of people, and this is a much harder conversation. How do you convince them that the stuff that you're promising is possible and doable?
Yeah, that's really. I don't know how any side persuades that. I don't know how any side persuades that other than you have a shitload of money and you have a shitload of like political capital, basically, and you just say, "Here's the stuff we've been able to do in the past. It's lukewarm, and we want to build on it." And then, other than just having a track record, nothing succeeds like success. I don't know how you really, other than maybe certain people are willing to delude themselves that, oh yeah, they can get that done. Other than that, letting people like delude themselves, I don't know how you persuade anyone of that, especially if they're like any sort of skeptical voter. I don't know. I think if regarding what you say of older black voters are informed voters, people in South Carolina informed voters, I would say if you're turning out to a primary election of any kind in whatever state, you probably are like a more informed voter. Like you're probably serious about like everyday politics or
about your politician.
Like you're probably a pretty informed, pretty activated voter.
And there aren't enough of those, and we can talk about that everywhere. There's not enough of those people.
Oh, not nearly. Because people are busy trying to just like spend time with their families and just trying to work and survive and make money and get their side hustle on, and because that's what our economy and our society incentivizes, enables, and requires. People are too busy working.
Yeah. Alyssa, what do you got?
Well, I think that on one hand, I was out of part of this conversation. I only got to come back to hear part of it. But a short thing, I do think it's important, or it was important for me for a lot of my canvassing experience, and this isn't related even to Bernie. This is like decriminalizing drugs in Santa Cruz County. This is a lot of the homeless stuff I still do right now. Lots of other things, but in general, on average, whenever I'm canvassing or I'm instructing people to canvass, and this might have just been like an offhand word we use, but persuasion isn't usually the game. That's like I'm a big believer that if you go with like, okay, this might just even be.
Hey, hang on. I just want to say hello to RJ Anime again, who is my cousin. I don't promote his channel a lot, but I'm going to be doing probably more stuff with him next year. So it's good to see you.
Already next year.
I don't know why we're doing, we came back and this ended up being kind of a political conversation.
All right, let's move on from it. But let me finish.
more normal stuff this year. So
Okay.
anyway, Alyssa, tell your story.
I'll finish this and then I'll go there. But I do think the number one way to engage with people is to not have the intent to persuade, is to not even necessarily have the intent to do anything other than start these conversations off, and do that by listening. Because especially with the South Carolina thing, these are people who've been, at least for me, who have been alive a lot longer than I have, may or may not have an entirely set of different circumstances than I have. I have no idea. Like, when I was in Iowa, a lot of people thought that, like, where I live is, like, Hollywood, and Brandon knows for sure my path. I live in the rural-ass fucking mountains. But what I wanted to say is I think that's a big thing that I used to have a hard time with, is I believed so much in certain things that I wanted to just tell them, like, oh my gosh, if you only knew about this at the beginning of it, because that's how I felt. I was very fucking ignorant for a while. And then it got to the point where engaging by listening to their stories and doing that is, I think, the best way to talk to people about anything, really. And I'll end it at that.
Yeah, listen, stories from work. Hello, if you want to tell a story from or around or about your job, feel free to. But in the meantime, we are going to talk about the Pope.
No.
Well, I don't know. We can talk about the Pope, and then you can judge whether it's an nope. A form of selfishness. Pope Francis said Wednesday, people that adopt pets instead of children were exhibiting, quote, a form of selfishness, as he provided over his first general audience of the new year. How many children in the world are waiting for someone to take care of them?
Oh my God.
And how many spouses wish to be fathers and mothers, but are unable to do so for biological reasons? Or although they already have children, they want to share their family's affection with those who've been left without. Francis' catechism lesson focused on the figure of Joseph, who Francis said was the foster father of Jesus, repeating his call for more couples to have more children to address the, quote, demographic winter in much of the West. He said those who can't have children should be open to adoption.
Oh my God, I have so much to say, so you go first.
First of all, there's a weird racial birth rate thing happening about the Pope is out in the new year addressing birth rates in the West. It's a little bit weird. It's just a little.
Where you're like, the hill you're going to die on?
Why is this on NBC News? Huh?
Right.
That's just weird. As far as the actual meat and bones of it, dude, does the Pope know how expensive children are? Like,
are you fucking shitting me?
Like, these kids is expensive, dude. Dog, listen, you can be homeless and have a dog. All you got to do is go to Checkers and get the $1 hamburger and give the dog a couple bites of that burger. And
okay, don't do that, but for real, Brandon's right, but don't do that.
Don't do that, but y'all know what I mean.
Exactly.
You know, animals can survive a lot. Kids need food, diapers.
Sucking the joy out of your soul and then giving it back to you so you feel guilty that you were mad earlier. Oh. I don't have a kid.
And people would be doing more family shit if they made more fucking money. You've got an entire generation that, you know, this is the generation that has a lower standard of living than their parents. So
we literally can't afford to live in a house. What am I going to do? Fucking have a baby? And those same people are the one. Sorry, I'm waiting for you to go. You finish, Brandon.
No,
finish.
You're on a roll and you're correct. You are correct on saying it. So go ahead.
The cost of living on this, I feel like this is almost like the equivalent of avocado toast outrage, where you're like, it's we've all seen the articles on the fucking, like, millennials are not buying houses and are ruining the real estate thing, and these younger generations are insert whatever the fuck you desire here, because it's really not a horrible thing that's happening. And if we want to look at the statistics, blah, 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 blah. So moving on to this, where I'm like, okay, first, the cost of having a child is so extraordinarily high.
It's
And
off
that's
the wall.
It is. I literally saved up this whole year and worked 4 jobs so that I could have $1,000 to buy my daughter Christmas presents this year. And I still couldn't get her everything she wanted, and I still had to pay rent, and I had to pay bills, and I'm like, I won't rant about that. But so there's also this like backhandedness of like, this backhanded anti-abortion message going on in that, where I'm like, so you guys are the ones that are telling us that we should be having kids instead of pets, and that there's just this undercurrent of like fucking stop aborting your babies and stop using condoms. But these are the same people who, the second that child is alive and well, are also going to be like, well, we're not going to give them food stamps and cash aid. They're just going to sit on their ass and be welfare queens. I'm like, I'm like, read the fucking room. There's, aside from the racial aspect on this and the backhanded anti-abortion comments, I'm also like, where does the Pope get his weed? Because that's how. That was the big message we're gonna give.
It's very.
I want to try that weed.
It's really out of touch.
Thank you. That's the more appropriate way of saying it.
And I get that if you're a pope, your role is to be a little bit out of touch. If any of y'all have seen,
I actually disagree. The Catholic Church has a lot to do with touching, but I just don't think it's on the proper subject.
They really need to get out of touch. The more out of touch, the better over there.
Yeah.
I watched the HBO show, The Young Pope, and it's a really good show about a right-wing Jude Law Pope, and he very passionately argues that the Pope should not be connected to regular people's lives. If you're asking to be praying to God, and this guy's the right-hand man of God on earth, he shouldn't understand your problems. He should be just a weird figure out in the clouds, because you don't need to be thinking about the Pope. What that guy
is the Pope thinking about you?
Yeah, the Pope's not thinking about you. The Pope is thinking about God, and God don't like watch The Young Pope on HBO. But my whole point is,
do that later. Oh,
stop taking advice from the Pope. That's my big advice.
No, for real, because the Pope, not even Mr. Francis we have over here, but they're all fucking bullshit. I'm so sorry. But like the entirety of the history of the Pope has been, let's not only steal other people's cultural relevant items and hide them in a big fucking place nobody can have access to them. But in addition to that, I'm just going to say the most ludicrous, either homophobic, transphobic, racist, whatever you please. Or I'm just going to touch a bunch of children and let it go throughout the things. But also we do exorcisms, so please keep us relevant. Sorry to all of our religious folks.
Listen, I'm not sure what this show is. It's technically marked as a lore and logistics episode. And I guess it kind of is. It's our format. And it's Brandon and Alyssa. And we're also on Twitter Spaces.
Forget about the Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, no, listen, everybody hears you because our mic is both connected to the thing.
Okay. I'm sorry to everybody on the Twitter Spaces.
Everybody, Alyssa's sorry. But we're on Twitter Spaces technically, and we may improve this format as we'll find out what should plug into what so that it can be a perfect experience for everybody. But we're just talking bullshit.
Well, it's fun. Brandon and I haven't done a live stream like this in a long time, A. And B, I literally texted him, call me, and then said, why don't we just go do this and try it out? So,
do it.
Fuck it.
And, I like to have like a 5-point plan before I go on camera. But
more spontaneous.
Yeah, but why not be fucking spontaneous? You know who was spontaneous? The 10,000 bees that joined a riot.
B and A cab.
Listen, this is Chile. 10,000 bees joined protest in Chile. 7 police officers stung. And I'll just start by saying, y'all know the cops are going to exaggerate the bee stings. And act like, we were mauled by the bee. They're going to be putting makeup on top of it or whatever.
They're like, Antifa has been doing super secret intel and got vaccination computer chips in the bees, and that's how they did it. Also, cement milkshakes.
And when you see the story, like it's another story that sounds funny in the headline, but is really kind of messed up.
Okay, so read the story so I won't laugh inappropriately.
Laugh whenever you want, but
all right.
4 beekeepers were detained after protesting in front of Chile's presidential palace in Santiago on Monday, according to local officials, with 7 police officers stung during the demonstrations. Honey production
in critical condition.
Honey production has been hurt by a long-time drought in Chile that has withered the bees' food sources such as flowers and crops. While drought is not uncommon in Chile, the current mega drought has persisted since 2010, and climate change is at least partly to blame, scientists say. The beekeepers want government reform to improve honey prices or to provide government subsidies to honey producers. They've asked to meet with the president. The beekeepers set around 60 beehives, which contain an estimated 10,000 bees, on the avenue in front of the palace. And one of the beekeepers, Jose Iturra, told local reporters the drought in Colina commune north of Santiago was killing the bee population. Bees are dying, Iturra said. There will be no life if the bees dies. That is what we wanted to highlight with this demonstration. A representative for the Ministry of Agriculture in Santiago said the agency was also concerned about the effect the drought was having on the bees. The government's been providing aid for months to 20 communities that are experiencing severe water shortages, Omar Guzman, the regional agricultural secretary, told reporters. Some passersby were alarmed at the risk the bees pose to the public. It's dangerous for people who are allergic to bees. They can cause death. 7 national police officers were stung trying to arrest the beekeepers, police officials said, and were taken to the hospital. In other perhaps less relevant news, droughts and rising temperatures from climate change have affected bee populations worldwide. A 2020 study published in the journal Science found that populations fell by around 50% in North America and 17% in Europe in one generation.
I love how the global climate fucking catastrophe just barreling towards us is the last part of the
the headline is like,
they're like, oh, you're gonna die at the end.
First of all, 10,000 bees were out here. They brought 60 beehives out here in front of the building, and the cops are in full body armor. The cops, Alyssa, are in full fucking body armor, and
as still bitching about a bee sting,
arresting these people, the beekeepers, for protesting because the bees in the country of Chile are dying.
Okay, wait. I have to share my screen after you're done talking about this because I want to add to the story.
7 cops got stung by bees, and number 1, they were taken to the hospital. All right. And like, I've been stung by a bee. Maybe the Chilean bees are harder than our American bees. I don't know.
Okay,
but either way, and yeah, the headline is like 7 police officers stung. I wish the headline was just like, no more bees.
Okay, wait. Can we?
Alyssa, I'm gonna share a.
Can we talk about?
Oh my god! All right, so for people on Spaces, Alyssa is sharing just beekeeper outfits.
Okay, because I just want to reiterate that these people are wearing a minimal suit, a minimal face mask. You know, it's really minimal when you go, and if I were to type in, let's see, full body police.
Alyssa's typing in just full body police suits. We've got we're looking at the article, and yeah, these cops came out, and I gotta be audible for our brothers and sisters.
Yes, no.
Yeah, these cops came out in full body riot armor, to arrest beekeepers for protesting outside of the building.
I mean,
Crazy. They're dressed like RoboCop. If we could get a
it's
split
like
screen here of that guy and fucking RoboCop, it would be pretty similar. You're going out dressed like the T-1000.
it's like Dread now.
Which, by the way, hey, I'm not even gonna try to be like turbo woke on this. Maybe for some reason, like you can't, like I understand bees. You don't want bees to just take over, have a sit-in or whatever, and depose your government. You know, if a bunch of bees were outside my house, I'd go and kick, these beekeepers, kick the hive over and tell them to get out of there. However,
you're putting the bee in.
the huge budgetary amount that spent on the tools and like, aren't you supposed to be like a superhero? Like put on a hoodie and just go and shoo the bees away. Tough guy, what's happening?
Oh, I was gonna say something mean, and also probably I don't know how many of you guys are parents, but there's a very intense, or not intense, intent. There's a whole thing with capes and not wearing them in Incredibles. And I'm like, you guys want to be a fucking superhero? Go put your capes on.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a mom joke to the like nth degree, whatever. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Listen, it's just ridiculous. Also, just politely ask the beekeepers to take their bees and go home.
Also, not gonna lie, I'm gonna see if we have any homies that keep bees, because I'd love to bring some to one of my climate change. I'm doing the climate control lobby. I'm the CCL I've been working with, but yeah, because I have people that are like, oh no, the Pope will love this. I have so many friends right now who are having babies.
That's right.
And I'm like, I'm so glad you don't think we're all gonna die in 100 years.
I don't know if we're having babies more, but people are fucking.
Yeah, they are. It seems like spreading your legs is in the air. JK, that was super inappropriate. Sorry.
No, it wasn't. We're on Twitch. We're on Spaces. These are all raunchy, rude audience. Like these are all adults. They're all right.
Okay, cool. I don't need to hide my.
I'll attest to that. Yes, we're a bunch of raunchy adults. So don't be afraid to be raunchy. You know, just say.
Okay, good. Because
question from Twitch. What else should we be doing during quarantine? Nothing. This
Brandon, that's so wrong.
Live streaming and having children and adopting dogs if that's better to your budget.
You're killing me. I have a legitimate answer for that, but I have to put my computer charger in. I'll be back in 2 seconds. 2 shits and a handshake.
Okay. I have no idea how long this was supposed to go. We really just had I've wanted to do a work stories forum for like a little while, and Alyssa was bit by the bug and wanted to go and hang out, so we just decided. I know that you were being sarcastic. But I thought that it would transition us from the impending death of the human race, quarantine hobbies. The human race will be fine.
I was just going to say you also have to stock up on your alcohol like the Crazy Irishman.
We bring it all the way back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap liquor for all. That's the other quarantine hobby. Babies and cheap liquor. So
yeah.
Which one of us is more like cheap liquor and which one of us is more like a baby?
You.
Which one am I? Am I the cheap liquor or the baby?
You're the drunk cheek baby.
All right. We're the drunk babies.
Hey.
That's right.
I was gonna say something, but Brandon, if you want to end it.
No, if we,
Okay.
I feel like we've got another 10 to 15 minutes. We can.
Okay, and then what I was gonna say is, we should actually do a real and legitimate. I feel like this is a good practice run, but I think we should definitely tap back into the work horror stories. I feel like there's a lot of content, especially right after the holidays.
I want to do that on a semi-regular basis. So
Let's do
Alyssa,
this. We
do
talked.
that with me. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
have that in our notes of the segments we were gonna do. And
I've had the same 6 great ideas for such a long time, and they just
Yo,
keep working out.
motherfucker.
That's right. Our best idea was working with each other. We're a great team.
We are you because you rein in my ADHD and make it so I can be crazy without my meds.
Which, for me to be a cure for your ADHD is really funny.
It's only because you go like.
Yeah, I'm just very stern. I think we just have overlapping ADHD.
Yeah.
And when you're being goofy, I just go like, "What is that?"
You just shut my shit down and ruin my party. Oh my god, it's okay. Do we want to end on a funny story?
I want you to do. We've got one requested. Elroy wants to come up here. So Elroy,
Yeah.
if you have a story from work, or if you just want to tell us that you love us, that's cool too.
Because we love you.
Brandon.
Hello, I know you're posting, but I've never heard your voice before, so this is great.
Oh, that's good. I was as a listener, so I didn't even know. But I was just listening to everyone's stories and just kind of like concerns and about canvassing and stuff. And I can't agree more with these points because like if we ask some questions rather than going after each other and being holier than thou leftists, where we're getting really legalistic. I mean, that's exactly what the church did, so we're going to end up destroying ourselves as an effective movement. And I'm in Florida. I thought, Florida's on a different timeline. So I went to work on Bernie's campaign, like volunteering as a canvasser, and I ended up getting sucked into the local DEC, which I thought, okay, that maybe that can be an arm for, our progressive candidates, because I worked on Rachel Brown's campaign here. And, I mean, we are in another timeline in Florida. So
just in the sense that it feels like you're in the dark ages. Okay.
Yeah, just like realistic expectations are so important, or people are just going to give the fuck up. I think I've definitely felt it and been there, but what I found within the DEC, my work story, is that they got me in there. They made me the executive secretary, and we had a pretty progressive chair, but we had a lot of membership folks that were, I'm obviously a poor person. Like, if you meet me and see me, like, I'm not put together like these Florida folks are. So, there was a lot of resistance right up front. And I don't know, like, they were more interested in fundraising for the state party that I remember and called out for fucking telling our progressive candidates not to run at all in districts where there was no other Democratic candidate challenging. They liked the Republicans. And that, to me, that's a conflict of interest. And then when I asked the chair about it, he muted me. Like, I don't know. It was
that's so very much not a surprise.
It's not a surprise, but it's shocking when it happens to you. I'm sorry, I just totally interrupted her after I was complaining about that. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Elroy.
Oh, I just like word salad from him, because I asked him point blank, will you commit to supporting down ballot progressive candidates, in the next election cycle? Because
my candidate had 40%. Maybe with some support, state party support, she could have succeeded. And next time, like, we should be putting our efforts. We're doing all this fundraising for upstate while down ballots just get fucked over. Like, they intentionally helped the plant straw candidates so that our progressive candidates didn't win. And he said, well, I just want more Democrats to win. We just need to get more Democrats elected. That's exactly the fuck what I'm talking about. They'll win if you support them down ballot, or even just endorse them, not even fucking financially. But we were doing so much fundraising for the party. I was like, I didn't come here to raise funds for the party. Like, I came to support our county and to support the candidates working within our counties and districts. What the fuck is this? Like, they're more concerned with, like, vote blue, blue, blue. Like, and I get that's. I'm probably so.
Oh no.
It's just so. It's so.
I can't agree more. A. And B, I feel like that's one of the most disheartening experiences you can have, is when you think that you found, like, a group of people that are there that can work with you, and that you're going to go and fundraise, and you're going to make a change, and you're going to help these progressives even just get a little bit of notoriety. So that was a bigger word than I meant, but a little bit of recognition there is a better word. It's even without the money thing. And then it goes back to the people that have the most money and the least concern for poor people end up being the ones who take the funds, or any other variation of that kind of fuckery. But I had a similar thing. I was volunteering for a group and I was fundraising, and it turns out I was not fundraising for the causes and things that I thought were important. And it turns out that we were just literally, this was a little bit closer to the Obama era, but I can't agree with you more. And I feel like that's one of the shittiest parts of getting involved. And I don't know, for me, it's always a heartbreaking experience when I have this, like, oh, you don't care. And especially, you mentioned being super poor. I too am super poor. And it's like, well, fuck, I'm volunteering. I literally could have picked up a third job and paid my rent this month, but here we are. Anyways.
Absolutely. Like we're not here, like, I do what I do. I'm not working. Like, I have, like, health issues, and my daughter has immunocompromisations here in health. And so I'm with her, I'm virtual learning, but I volunteer my time because I'm going to die. And she's going to be here. And what the fuck am I leaving her in the next generation with, like, in general, not just me, but everyone. And it's just like, it's a fucking nightmare.
It is. A little bit different situation, but I'm a single mom, and like a real, not, oh my gosh, that sounded like not like other moms are real single moms. I just was going to say, like, I'm the singular parent because my daughter's father passed away in 2018. That's a whole other spiel, but I'm immunocompromised, and it's one of the things that my family doesn't take seriously at all. But so, I'm trying to do all these other things, and I think, again, we go back to, I don't know if you were listening in when we were talking about the Pope and how the whole, you need to have a baby instead of a pet, but it goes back to this, like, the second that we have that baby, not only are the finances kind of rapidly and exponentially growing, we also have this issue of there is so much less consistent, tangible support, and oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that your daughter's immunocompromised. I'm immunocompromised, and I think that it's super great that you're out there donating your time, because as a parent, no matter what your circumstances are, even if there's 2 parents, there's 4 parents, being a parent is such a labor-intensive job, and our society does not reward. Like, there is no wage, there is no it's, being a care provider, especially for children, is an unpaid type of labor, if we're being quite frank. And so like, good on you, and I just hope you know that, like, I'm fucking rooting for you. And I'm so proud of you for still finding time to go out and volunteer and stuff like that. That's just like, it's just my favorite. So,
thank you. I really appreciate that, and like I just think that everyone can do something, and it's not hard. It can feel hard, and it can get hard, but it's to do something, anything. Like, I'm frantic, so I'm all over the place. But honestly, these, like, I don't know, here in Florida, like, they find a way to weaponize children against single mothers and mothers who don't stay with the father. And I'm sure that's the same in a lot of conservative states. And that's a whole other thing. There should be a whole series for mothers, single mothers, about, oh, well, this is what happens when you had the baby. I had the baby, and this is like it was used as a weapon, and it was like because I didn't stay within my abusive situation. Now I don't get my child tax credit at all because we're not a good family.
Right? No, totally. I couldn't agree more. And I might actually reach out to you and force Brandon to come on, or maybe not if he doesn't want to. But I feel like you hit on a really
What am I being forced into?
well, a lot of things, but as far as the live stream goes, having a discussion about the way that being
a caretaker, like being a caretaker and
well, yeah, well, so on one hand, I want to say single moms, but I also think that the single parent might be a more appropriate word because it does apply. There's different applications depending on how you identify, but
yeah, what are we getting into though?
The weaponization of children against single parents, in short, which is like Brandon knows. I don't talk about this very much because it bothers the ever fucking living shit out of me, but in the state of California and various other states, one of my final pieces I was working on when I was still attending UCSC was the various multitude of ways in which for lack of better terminology, the Karens, the middle to upper class folks who created Child Protective Services in the late 70s, which is this, there's so many different things going on with it. But from the 1970s and how that was weaponizing your children against you, and the absolute lack of cultural awareness within that institution from then to now, plus the myriad ways in which oh my gosh, my train of thought just left.
You were just talking about the many ways that children are weaponized against their parents.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure I'll think of it the second we are done with this, and I'm sure Brandon's getting ready to probably live his own life away from me. I've been stalking him.
No, never.
But I think that
But we should hang out and talk about. I'll run the camera and all of y'all can get together, and we've got a Calendly. We've been getting better organized as a show. So Elroy, we'll find a time that's on your schedule, and we want to do these workplace discussion forums on a semi-regular basis. So
and then for anybody that disagrees about the parenting, because I do know a lot of folks who are like, how come people with kids get more leniency in the workplace? I'd also love to hear that too. Like, I want to be abundantly clear when we're putting this out there that it is not just like a please only attend if you are a parent, or it's not exclusive. We want to hear varying opinions and get into really gnarly online fights with you. No, I'm just kidding. But in all reality, I think that that's like one of the things that I like to kind of engage with. And I think probably when we do our next work stories and or engagements with volunteer, so it's worker volunteering maybe, where
whatever maybe, you're doing.
Yeah, but featuring different things and how like basically the system fucks us, or why you think that Alyssa's melodramatic and shouldn't be anti-work, like whatever. But it's really fun when we have you guys to engage with us on these things. So, there's okay, weird timing. I just got 3 texts at the same time from different campaigns that are like, "Hey, Alyssa, what are you up to? We would love it if you came and did this thing." And I'm like,
Fuck them. Absolutely not.
They don't live in state, or I would.
Yeah, like I'll donate to your campaign when you stop, like, I don't know, when you're not afraid to say things like Medicare for all, and you're
Yeah, at what point, and this was something I wanted to mention while I was listening to your story. You don't really understand how messed up the party infrastructure is until you're in it yourself. And that and I was talking to Paul and wagging my nose at Paul for informed Black voters. They're informed about like the political realities and stuff like that, but your average person on the ground does not understand the corruption of the Democratic Party bureaucracy infrastructure, or they do, and their solution is to not vote at all. So you're in a tough situation no matter what.
Well, and for those of you who raise your eyebrows at the how intense the corruption is, not just within corporations but in nonprofits and the various other things.
Everywhere. It's
I
everywhere.
just want to do my very stereotypical Alyssa move, which is recommend a book because that's my healthy form of escapism. But The Revolution Will Not Be Funded takes a pretty, and it's, I feel like that's pretty mainstream now, but The Revolution Will Not Be Funded takes a pretty good look as to how you can start off with a nonprofit with the greatest of intentions, and then you get to the point where it's, if you want to get enough money to survive as a nonprofit, you are ultimately going to become corrupt or whatever. It's a great book. Highly recommend you read it to anybody listening. All 2.5 of you.
There are more than, hey, you're also on Spaces, so now there's like 5 or 6 total. We're going good. Elroy, you got anything else? Have you read that book? Do you have any thoughts about workplace issues?
I was just talking with a friend about nonprofits and things like that, and how easy it would be if we put too much into our orgs that we're making a new class of corporate. It's going to lead into it. So I'm really interested to read the book, The Revolution Will Not Be Funded, because that sounds like it will expand and explain a lot, because I was just wondering about that. But thank you for having this space for us, and this is probably the most hurt I've been in like 2 years since starting with the Dems. So good God.
Absolutely. Alyssa here with me. Alyssa is beaming. We'll make a clip of this video, but like she's just glowing because we argue a lot about social media, and it's very popular on Twitter to talk about social media being like a really shitty place that's full of shitty people and it's bad for your mental health. But sometimes social media can be good for your mental health, and it's just who shows up to it and who is on it and who's using it.
It's so funny. I wasn't even going to rub it in your face, Brandon. I didn't even think about that. I was just excited that for once somebody fucking took my book recommendation seriously, Brandon. I'm just kidding.
And then once in a while, somebody will get your book recommendation and work on it. So
I love how you had to put the once in a while.
We weren't sure whether to do Twitter Spaces, but if we hadn't done a space and a video at the same time, we wouldn't have gotten like this unique interplay of experiences that we're getting here. So thank you very much, Elroy. We'll keep doing these.
Yes. We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow, Alyssa.
Yes.
And it'll be just as good and maybe better.
It'll be better because you guys can hear me deal with my 9-year-old interrupting me to say things like, I farted.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say, where's the jar so I can say it?
I love your tweets too. I think they're hilarious. I don't think I got to said retweet. It was too late for me to even be up. I shouldn't have. But I saw one. You're like, it's not romantic to cook together. You're in my way. I love it.
I did that tweet. I love it. Now I feel good. So thank you. This has been just on a personal level. I don't even believe in sharing every triumph with the public. This has been a great week for me. And I just have had great stuff happen to me, and it makes me just feel great to be doing this stuff. And
that makes me happy.
Absolutely. So we're gonna hang out later. We'll see you tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. We'll figure it out. And
Yes.
thank y'all very much for hanging out.
I tried to follow everybody on the show that was engaging. If I didn't, I'm checking again. But we love having people, and we love having people to interact with when we talk, because you guys help us not talk about the same shit all the time. So, gosh, wow, just what a great day. So awesome. I love every single one of you motherfuckers. So thank you.
We love you, and you love us too. So bye everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wanted to make a poop joke, didn't.
We're still live on the
I thought we were off.
Fucking gotcha. No, I'm